Red lights all on now, so we're just about ready for the race start, and away we go. Slightly hesitant, lots of wheel spin for the Triumph Tier 8. John Marshall also getting a lot of wheel spin as he went up to second gear, so he gets swallowed up by the 2 or 3 rows of the grid behind him, and he drops to about 6th position, but it's pole position man Andrew Graham goes into the lead, followed by Jimmy Crowe into 2nd place in the Scimitar. Then Colin Calder almost got himself up to 3rd position there, has to drop to 4th, and it's Barry Easthoe's got the MGB GT up ahead of him into 3rd position. Then we've got Colin Calder in the Ginetta, we've got the Kinmond Rover Vitesse in behind, and then we've got John Marshall ahead of the Vauxhall Nova as they come very carefully splashing through the puddles up towards Clark Corner, and it's Andrew Graham who's dominating so far. John Marshall having a very cautious opening lap, which is quite understandable. He's got no grip at all. The car is just sliding around every time he applies the power. That's the penalty of the Lotus, is so lightweight, it lacks traction when you're on a certain amount of water. Anyway, through to the closer of the lap, and yes, John Marshall's rallying experience will be coming in very handy here, I think, because he's going to be sliding around a lot in that Lotus. Oh yes, I mean that must be, I think he's probably at the top end of 3rd gear, maybe going into 4th there, and the car snapping sideways as he came onto the main straight. So yeah, very, very tricky to drive, but obviously he's pushing it to the limit. Meanwhile, at Butchers and the chicane, we've got Andrew Graham way ahead now of Jimmy Crowe. Jimmy Crowe in 2nd position, and then it's Barry Easthoe's MGB GT in 3rd, ahead of Colin Calder in the Ginetta, then John Kinmond in the Rover. They've got well spread out, and John Marshall, I think, getting very sideways again as he goes on to the back straight. Yeah, that Lotus looks really tricky to drive. There's just absolutely no grip as he comes through Clark Corner. Again, we'll see when he changes up a gear. No, he's got it. He's a little bit calmer this time, but yeah, very, very tricky to drive. But deserves a medal if he gets that to the finish, I think. On they go around the circuit. So fastest lap, no big surprise, is with Andrew Graham, but lap time's about 10 seconds below what we'd expect in dry weather, 8 or 9 seconds at least below what we'd expect in dry weather. So 67.5 for Andrew Graham, excellent from Jimmy Crowe, 67.9, almost matching him. Then Barry Easthoe and Colin Calder both in the 1:10 10s, as is Adam Kinmond, and then John Marshall down at about the 1:13 13s, but you can see how much he's struggling for traction. Meanwhile, we have John Kinmond's Mini in number 63. He started the race down in 14th. He's now got his way up to 11th position ahead of Craig Houston's Lotus. And now you can imagine that back in the day, both of those cars would have been on sale at the same time in the showrooms of the mid-70s, the Mini and the Lotus XL. You would never in a million years expect a Mini to be able to outdrive a Lotus XL, but it's the conditions have just fallen to the Mini here. This is ideal conditions for an Austin Mini. Right, John Marshall continuing to have a great battle on track with Ian Mitchell's turquoise coloured Vauxhall Nova, and John Marshall through the hairpin ahead of him at the moment, slipping and sliding, and he's just about got things working better now. We've got a car off at the bottom of the entrance into the paddock. That is the number 7 car of Kieran Bailey. He's stopped at the bottom of the paddock. He's out the car though, and having to stand the other side of the barrier and watch the racing from there. The safety car boards have been shown though. One driver has failed to see the safety car boards. Finally worked out now what's going on, and so there's a couple of against the rules passing moves, and might have to give those places back. But anyway, cars getting into a formal orderly queue as they go around, because safety car will be to remove the number 7 Lotus 7 from its position. Safety car out on track. So 9 laps to go on the timing computer, so we're at 1/4 distance, and should be a quick recovery. We shouldn't lose any racing laps here. So Andrew Graham with the fastest lap of the race. He's getting quicker actually. He's now into the 66s, Obviously he's not going to be getting quicker under the safety car, but the speed was picking up, so the conditions are very, very wet, but he was beginning to pick up speed before we got the safety car. So we've got recovery vehicle out to recover that Lotus 7. And safety car picks up the leader, Andrew Graham, and he will lead the cars round at a fairly low pace to give the marshals the maximum amount of time to do their recovery work there. I think we've got all the cars now in the queue. I don't think there's anyone lacking behind. Last one to come and join the queue is the 67 car of Richard Cooper. That's an early model Ginetta, and then we've got the BMW of Ewan Anderson, BMW 2002 Ti, coming up at the end. So hopefully this is a quick tow for Kieran Bailey's Lotus 7. I hope there's not a transmission failure that's locked the wheels or anything like that when they, which will prevent it being towed. So yes, I think the form book's been upset just a little bit by the rain here, because I've expected maybe Adam Kinmund's Rover to be a little bit further up, and Barry Eastoe possibly normally ahead of Jimmy Crowe just on sheer horsepower, but Jimmy Crowe's driving magnificently to keep that second position. He's lapping significantly quicker than anyone else behind him, and he's not that far off the back of Andrew Graham, so quite impressed.
Hi Doc, I'm back.
Yeah.
I'm warmed up, I've had my coffee. And,
excellent.
But yeah, you say that it's not expected, but the weather, you know, that's the great leveller, isn't it, round here?
Oh yeah, absolutely, yes. It completely changes the complexion of things, and there's certain bits of the track as well, even, you know, regardless of even the driving skill required just to get your way around the track when there's a lack of grip, it changes the lines as well. You know, when it comes to overtaking, there's certain bits where there's a little bit more water gathered on the surface than others, particularly on the inside line into the hairpin. So it makes the overtaking choices a bit more difficult for drivers, and especially we'll see that when we get to the minis, which are out next. That's a much closer pack than we have in the classic sports saloons, so we'll see that coming into play. And then there's also all the theories about what people sometimes call the karting line and things, you know, the searching for different bits of the track that maybe have more grip than others. And really what's going on there is I don't know why they call it the karting line, because it's just the less worn line on the circuit, where the tarmac is worn and smooth, and the water doesn't drain so well, so there's less grip, and that's basically the racing line all the way around the circuit. So if you veer off the racing line at certain points, you will find more grip. So there's certain drivers are quite good at identifying that kind of thing. So anyway, we're back racing again. Andrew Graham makes a good safety car start. Jimmy Crowe stayed very close to him. Jimmy Crowe positioned himself very, very well from that safety car start, so he's clinging on in second position there. And then in third we still have Barry Eastoe's MGB GT. So Barry doing a fantastic job there, actually, with a very, very powerful car. And of course, these being old powerful cars, there's no driver aids, there's no traction control or anything like that, and it's just you and the accelerator pedal and whatever tyres you've got. So Colin Calder still in a good fourth position ahead of Adam Kinmund, and then John Marshall still sliding along in the Lotus. Or is he? Yes, he is. He's just ahead of the Vauxhall Nova there of Ian Mitchell. Ian Mitchell's bright turquoise coloured Nova. In fact, the Nova is alongside John Marshall now. Could John Marshall recover this? The Nova, I think, is going to gain a position here to come into the hairpin, but he's going to have to brake on that tricky standing water on the inside line, but he's managed to do it. Now John Marshall's car will be struggling for traction, but he gets a good run out the hairpin. He might just get alongside the Nova here. Yep, he's coming back. He's going to retake the position, and John Marshall goes back up again into sixth position. If he can get it stopped for turn one, of course, which he's managed to do, and he goes ahead of that turquoise Nova. There was a time back in the late 80s, early 90s, you'd have called that Leighton House green. It was the same colour of sort of turquoise green that was on the Leighton House March Formula 1 cars, but there'll be some people here who weren't even born then, so it probably doesn't mean a lot
and that
to them
includes
these days.
me.
That includes you, yes.
Well, that was early 80s.
Oh well, there you go. Yep, so John Marshall, I think, has recovered from that. He lost that position as the came round Clark's last time round, but this time round, I think he's steadied the ship Although the Nova once again has got a much faster run at Clark Corner. That seems to be the Achilles heel for John Marshall's Lotus, but he's managed to stay a couple of lengths ahead this time, and I think he's going to keep that position. We've got 6 laps to go now as the leader Andrew Graham crosses the line in the Triumph TR8. So we're just at half distance.
But yeah, I'm just looking at the last lap time of Jimmy Crowe. It's 107.18, so yeah, he's not hanging around at that.
Yeah, he's doing a great job of trying to keep up with Andrew Graham. Andrew Graham ultimately has a lot more power, and even on the wet track that's going to make a difference. But the gap first to second is only 1.6 seconds at the moment, which is pretty good. I'm also
further down, car number 55, Colin Calder has dropped into 106.185, so that's just 0.1 behind the 106.095 of Andrew Graham.
Yeah, it doesn't look it, but I think the track is getting very slightly quicker at the moment, which it still looks like there's a lot of spray around, but yeah, I think they're going slightly quicker. Yeah, Colin Calder, absolutely, he's catching Barry Eastoe very quickly indeed.
Yeah, what you find is that it's better to be fully wet than just damp and greasy.
Yeah, a lot of drivers say that when they get in the cars. They hate the in-between conditions. Nice drift from Adam Kidman as he came through the hairpin there in the big Rover. But Colin Calder now closing in on Barry Eastoe as they go into the Beatson's Building Supply Bridge. Not quite close enough to try and overtake, but maybe next time round he could be. He's really taken a lot of time out of Barry Eastoe since the safety car went away. Now the other person who's climbing up through the field rapidly, because I said he was a little bit out of position on the grid, is the 91 car driven by Craig Houston. He started down in 15th on the grid, but he's now up to 8th position, and he is chasing down Ian Mitchell, and he has in fact caught Ian Mitchell. Yellow flags down at McIntyre. We've got a car in the gravel. I think that's Colin Calder, in fact, who's gone into the gravel on the exit of McIntyre's. Yes, it is Colin Calder. I think he's trying to get back on track, and he's managed to get back on track. That's good news. We don't no need for a safety car, but shame for Colin Calder. I think he was just eyeing up, making a position there, but unfortunately ended in the gravel at McIntyre's.
Yeah, he was beginning to reel in that third position potentially, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was close to the back of Barry Eastoe. He was just a couple of car lengths off, and just obviously lost it on the exit of McIntyre. Barry Eastoe, meanwhile, is closing in on Jimmy Crowe's Scimitar. After his quick restart following the safety car, Jimmy Crowe's dropped back a little bit from Andrew Graham's leading Triumph TR8, and that has allowed Barry Eastoe to close in. They're negotiating a few tail enders at the moment, which has slowed the pair of them down, but yeah, Barry Eastoe looks like he could mount a challenge before the end of the race. They're currently about a second apart, but we'll see if that develops as the race goes on. And then Craig Houston up to 7th. We'll keep an eye on that dark blue Lotus Excel as we get into the closing stages of the race. We've got 3.5 laps to go at the moment. Jimmy Crowe then comes round towards the hairpin, followed by Barry Eastoe. And then Adam Kinman quite a distance behind them. So the leader coming up to the line, passing on the XR2s. Massive difference in straight line speed between the two cars. That's the 28 XR2 of Fraser Turnbull. He's just passed. Duncan O'Neill is the next XR2 up the order in 66, but the XR2 class being led by Paul Green in the 65 car. So we'll get a visual on him at some point. I've lost track where he is in the circuit at the moment. But he is leading the XR2s. Colin Calder on the charge though. He's now repassed the number 3 car of Michael Anderson, which puts him back up to 12th position. And his next target will be John Kinman's Mini, who is currently running in 11th after starting down in 14th on the grid. So Andrew Graham, Jimmy Crowe, Barry Eastoe is at the first, second and third at the moment. And John Marshall, I think, has just dropped a couple of positions. He is dropped now behind Ian Mitchell and Craig Houston. So Ian Mitchell's Vauxhall Nova, Craig Houston's Lotus have both managed to get past John Marshall. So John demoted down to 7th position. That's a car that obviously is much harder to drive in the wet than it was in the dry. And so John not able to maintain his second position on the grid as the race develops, but he's driven the car beautifully all the same. I mean, you can see how difficult it's been to drive, and in fact he's repassed Craig Houston's Lotus, and also Craig Houston about to be passed by the Ford Escort. There's a lot of place swapping going on these last couple of laps. Colin Calder has repassed the Mini of John Kinman, so he's now up another position, up into the top 10, or top 11 I think he'll be. I think he'll need one more place to get top 10. We've just got 2 laps to go then, and everything's suddenly happening. Ian Mitchell heading down the hill in what will be 5th position overall now, and he has just lapped one of the slower cars, so he's getting his way through some traffic at the moment. John Marshall under some threat from Alistair Coates' Ford Escort, the number 32 car, but managing to stay in front of it at the moment. But unfortunately, I don't know why, but Craig Houston has suddenly lost a bit of pace and is dropping way back down the order. Craig Houston, I think, is struggling to get that car to the finish line, but hopefully he'll make it, fingers crossed. As Barry Easthoe has now just taken 2nd position. He's just passed Jimmy Crow between the hairpin and the start finish line, so Barry Easthoe gets his MGB GT up into 2nd position. So we've got Austin, Rover, British Leyland, whatever you want to call it, V8s 1st and 2nd in the order, but Jimmy Crow fighting back as they head down to McIntyre's down towards Butchers. Jimmy Crow will want to get that 2nd place back, I am sure. Although they are in different classes, so it doesn't matter if a class win, but Jimmy Crow will just want to get the position on road, never mind the class, I'm sure. So they're on the back straight at the moment, just about to pop into view, and yep, Jimmy Crow still in 3rd, Barry Easthoe ahead of him in the MGB GT. So we've got Andrew Graham, Barry Easthoe, Jimmy Crow as the order. We're on the final lap of the race as the leader comes out of the hairpin, accelerates towards the line and the checkered flag, and Andrew Graham takes a dominant win. Very well driven in tricky conditions in that hugely powerful Triumph TR8. Then an excellent 2nd place, just snatched in the closing stages of the race from Barry Easthoe, number 51, Jimmy Crow 3rd in car 21, and then we look down the hairpin and we'll see Adam Kinmond in the Rover Vitesse coming in 4th position in car 64. Then we'll have to wait and see who comes next. It's Ian Mitchell. Through all the trials and tribulations of the last few laps of the race, Ian Mitchell is going to come home in that Vauxhall Nova in 5th position overall. That's a fantastic result as an overall position in the race, and he also wins Class A. John Marshall, now is he going to come home next? No, he's not. Who's next? Next is Alistair Coates, number 32, ahead of Colin Calder, Richard Merrill, and then John Marshall we've lost somewhere, very slowly through the hairpin yet, so John Marshall tumbling down the order. So I don't know what's happened to him. He's obviously had a wee slip up on the last lap, and he's coming home just behind Craig Houston, who's finishing 12th, John Marshall 13th. So great drive by John Marshall actually to keep that thing on the road, because it looked wild in the first few laps. He had a spin in the closing stages there, the last lap of the race, which is a shame, but yeah, hopefully we'll be out for a bit of fun in the 2nd race later on. So we'll see Classic Sports and Saloons out for their 2nd race at 3:35 this afternoon. They'll do another 12-lap race, hopefully in better conditions than this. Not sure what the weather's going to do as the day progresses.